Excited for conference play to get started here. After having a chance to review the tape, obviously a lot of good things, and then things we continue to coach off of because we're going to need to improve and get better. Certainly as we head into league play, I think we had every opportunity to break that game open really wide and really early, and just some lack of execution plays and critical moments prevented us from really enjoying the success, because the guys certainly, with the intensity and the strain they played with, they certainly deserve for that to be a larger margin of victory. And that's taking nothing away from Arizona and the great job they did. In reality, it's what that really means, that's a failure of us as coaches, right? For either maybe not having the right scheme called on a particular play, or not having coached it well enough, so that way a guy has no indecision in his mind. And so we'll meet today on that as a team, and we'll talk about that. But there's some really good film to coach off of. We improved in a lot of areas from week one, and there's a lot of areas in which we can continue to still improve. And the message simply is right, if we can improve in those areas that we highlight, we can line up and play versus anybody. Okay, I could not have been more proud of the effort our guys came out and played with. Their grit and determination, and then we had a heck of an environment too. And my thank you to the fan base. That was a rocking stadium. It was awesome, and we need the same thing this week. Obviously, LSU coming in, defending SEC West champs, and they're as talented as any team in the country. And so we got quite the challenge in front of us, and our guys are excited to get to work.
You mentioned on Saturday, the ups and downs of that game, and be proud of your guys for, coming through with the win. How much do you think some of the young players can learn from being in a game like that and playing through some of the lows to, find a way to win as well?
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, if you're a guy who's a freshman out there, or maybe it's your first time really getting significant action, and you have to play for a full 60 minutes and then some more, right, because of overtime, right, you grow from that, and you learn from the highs and the lows. And so, yeah, we should be a more mature, experienced football team because of that game, which is good for us. It's going to be good for us in the long run.
Justin.
On the flip side of that, Sean Preston's been a guy we talked or asked you about, a couple times through fall camp. Obviously been here 6 years. Just going back for him, being a game one starter and having the game he did Saturday, just him sticking it out here, and just your thoughts on how he's grown over the years.
Yeah, Sean's made some really good plays for us over the course of his career. In just my memory, I would say that that was the best game Sean has played in his career. And we needed all of them. And that play he makes, I think we counted up, it was a 18 or 19 play drive down the field, right? And then he forces a fumble there on third down there, tight inside the 5 or 6 yard line, and that is a big time play. And then the interception was a great one too, because that was a perfect thrown ball. The receiver might actually have it for a sec, but that was textbook how you want your free safety to play when you're playing man-free coverage. He sees a quarterback, right? He starts to melt with the eyes, with the vision of the quarterback. He gets he gets a great break. And all of a sudden, he's picking a ball off out there, getting towards the numbers. That's the kind of range you want from your free safety. So I thought it was the best game of his career.
And then depth chart wise, didn't see Kelvin Dinkins or Jacoby Elbert down there. I don't think they dress on Saturday. Are those injury related? Any updates?
Yeah, unfortunately, Kobe's probably going to be done for the year. He had a little bit of a knee injury in camp that we gave it a couple weeks to try and heal up and see if he could play on it braced, and just unfortunately wasn't able to. But just my admiration for him, the fact that he was willing to try and do that because he wanted to play so bad. But he's going to be having a season-ending knee operation, and then Dinkins was just unavailable for the game. But we'll be getting him back sooner than later.
John?
Zach, you talked about how that game was kind of a learning experience for a lot of the players, but for you as a head coach, I mean, being able to eke that out late against kind of a Pac-12 opponent and all the film and through all of that, what was the biggest thing kind of you learned that you think you can kind of take away from an experience like that from a head coaching standpoint?
There was a lot of situational stuff that came up in that game, right? And there was a lot of 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, right? Kind of fringe areas. Is that a punt? Is that a go for it, attempt a long field goal, so there's situations like that. You know, I've decided to go for it twice, once in each game down in, I think I've been 4th and goal before, both times we haven't got either one. You know, so hindsight being 20/20, you can line up and you kick a field goal. You also like your odds of defending a long field with your defense, right? And so, but that's 6 points that I prevented from being on the scoreboard, simply because I made a decision to go for it, right? So, and those situations that continue to come up, and that's the responsibility of the head coach. The other one that came up, you know, we'll talk about this in our team meeting today, is I referenced that 18-19 play drive they had, where then Sean forces a fumble, we scoop it, return it about, I don't know, 25, 30 yards, so we get it out to probably out past the 35, right? And I instructed the offense, hey, let's play this a little conservative here. Let's try to eat some clock up, because we got a defense who needs to catch their wind on the sideline, right? If you go out, you go super aggressive. Let's just say you got a couple incomplete passes. The clock, you don't run any time off the clock. You potentially have a punt and go right back out. Now on the flip side, right? If I could do that all over again, I would have told us to be super aggressive. You got a chance to, firmly take all the momentum in that game, right? You've just caused a big play to prevent a score. Man, if you can go be super aggressive and score a touchdown there, make that, I think, 21-0 it would have been at that point, right? Yeah, your defense has to go back out really tired, but it's worth the trade-off of the momentum and the 3 scores. So, I very poorly, right, managed that situation. So, I'll own up to the team, tell them it's completely my mistake. I should have told the offense to be super aggressive, and it's the responsibility of the defense to go out and stop them no matter what the situation, even if they're coming off an 18-play drive. And so I think I kind of sucked the air out of our sails a little bit right there, and I got to be accountable for that as a head coach.
John?
Coming up to, obviously, this Saturday, you mentioned LSU. Just how much that game means to kind of a lot of people around here. What would it mean for, you guys and recruiting days, for the brand, for, you and helping put this program even more on the map to kind of get the win on Saturday, get a 3-0 start? What could that do for you all?
I leave all that for you guys to write about, right? And for us, it means we're 3-0 and 1-0 in conference.
Robbie?
Delora had a lot of success getting out of the pocket. Jaden Daniels does a lot of some of the same things at LSU.
Really?
So, what have you seen from him that makes him so dangerous? Obviously, game plan against him last year too, but what really stands out about him and what they do offensively too at LSU?
Well, they have tremendous personnel, right? Their offensive line is big and pretty and physical and athletic. All right, they got a tight end room who obviously looks the part. They got tremendous speed and athleticism at all their skill positions. Running backs are hard to tackle because they're big and thick and physical, but also can break away for the long one. And to top it off, you have a quarterback who is equally adept at throwing it as he is to running it. Last week's game versus Arizona felt very much like last year's game versus LSU. It's modern football, right? That an accomplished passer who also can hurt you just as much with his legs is not fun to defend, right? And so you have to constantly shift the stress around on defense, right? Sometimes that forces you to shift some stress to your back end. Sometimes that forces you to shift the stress up to your front, right? And you're hoping you can manage that throughout the course of the game. I can give you a long dissertation right now about, all the different ways that you can try. You got to keep the quarterback in the pocket, obviously, right? You got to keep the quarterback in the pocket, but yet you still have to generate a pass rush, right? So what is that? There's that fine line between how do you cut guys loose and let them go try to win their one-on-ones, but not let seams emerge within pass rush lanes and scramble lanes. And then obviously you want zone eyes behind it. You play a little bit more zone coverage, so that way you have guys who can come out of coverage and rally to the quarterback and prevent the big long scrambles. Well, That means you're not as playing tight of coverage, and a good quarterback exposes that. So then you can get into the pattern match, man match coverages, or just straight man to man. And well, now you're playing tighter to routes, and so you can deny more throws, but that means you're chasing guys man to man, and if the quarterback breaks the pocket and scrambles, you have nobody. So the scrambles hurt you more in those coverages. You can rush 3 and have a 4th guy, you pull him out of the rush, but he's really a spy, right? So he can then account for that. And then you can still play your coverages. You don't get as much pass rush, right? And the reality is you have to do all of those. You have to do all of those. It's no different than I was just talking about. You gotta be able to do all of them, because the offenses are too good, the coordinators are too good, the game plans are too good, that you're just gonna realistically line up and do just one and think you're gonna, defend them all night. So you gotta be able to do it all. But we obviously didn't do it well enough. And I can't believe Dolores, I think he's finished like right around 50 yards rushing. I bet you if he had a GPS tracker, he probably ran 250 yards,
Arizona's coach was really complimentary of the game day atmosphere this past weekend. And how would you think the atmosphere, maybe how important is it to try to replicate that this week with early morning kick?
I thought it was a great atmosphere. That is its atmosphere, right? That's what makes Davis Wade so special. That's what makes Starkville so special. Right? Our fan base, they come out no matter what, they're fired up and rocking. They have this place rocking. So I have every expectation that it's going to be just as good of an environment come 11 a.m. Saturday, and that makes a difference. That makes a difference. The reason, obviously, he was so complimentary is because he wants to see a similar environment there in Tucson. So can't thank our fan base enough for what they've done.
Jason.
Even had to break the dreaded white jersey curse, right? Which we didn't even, we're so busy talking about everything else, we didn't talk about that.
You had a whole rant about how much you're going to have to defend with LSU's offense coming in this weekend. So how big is it to have your 2 linebackers who have played against them multiple times, Jet Johnson and Nathaniel Watson? How big is it to just have them for this weekend who have seen this offense before, and others on the defense? How big is it? Just
those guys have seen a lot of football, right? And so, well, there are times where you talk about shifting stress around defensive game plan wise. There are times where we knowingly put harder executes for them, assignments for them to execute than maybe some other guys, because those guys play a lot of football and they can handle that burden, right? I don't know if Jet came off the field for one play last game, and if Buki did, it was just a couple, right? And so we got to do some things this week to freshen those guys up, and there's several more on the team, but you mentioned those 2 guys in particular. Yeah, it's good to have guys who play that much football, and if you want to win big games, your best players got to play well. And so we need them to play well.
Kind of going off that, Jet Johnson was named SEC Defensive Player of the Week. When we've talked with you about him in the past, you've joked that, oh, maybe that's all me, maybe I should have been playing him earlier. But what has he kind of meant to you for over the last couple of years, and how valuable has he been, for this defense?
Oh, Jet's a football player. Jet's a football player. Right? Our defensive philosophy, but I learned it from the guy I worked for and learned from. But we got a pretty simple one, right? And obviously, number one is know what to do and how to do it, and that is Jet to a T, right? There is not a call that we make that he does not know exactly what to do, where to be aligned, where to have his eyes, and then exactly how to do based off what his key tells him. And if you're a good football player and you can do all those things, you're going to have quite a bit of production. Led the league in tackles last year, 2 interceptions, and whatever his stat line was, I don't even know it off the top of my head, but he made some big time plays in that game. That's how you define a good football player, right? What do they actually do when they get their opportunities? He sure made the most of his opportunities over the course of his career.
Didn't see too much of Creed in that game against Arizona. Did he get banged up, or was that just a decision by the coaches?
No, I think it was probably just the way the rotations worked out and the plays, but yeah, no, he's healthy.
We got to see a lot of Malik Ellis. How much of a revelation has Kid been? He comes in as an offensive lineman, makes himself at home as a tight end there, blocking roles, motion roles, all sorts of things he's doing.
I think you just described, you just said it. And I'm taking this from another coach. I was fortunate enough, our new AD got us to do a little session with Zach Taylor, the Bengals, right? But we talk a lot about our ability. What is a football player, right? And we got a lot of football players. And what that really means is whatever is in the best interest of the team, whatever is asked of me, I am willing to do whatever it takes for the betterment of the team to get the job done and give us the best chance of victory, right? So here you have Malik, true freshman, right? He is going to be a very good offensive lineman for us. But, right, due to some circumstances that I won't continue to dwell on, right? We have a need for a point of attack tight end who can create some movement in the run game, right? And we're not the first ones obviously to do this. You see this all over college football where maybe a third or fourth tackle can play, put an eligible jersey on and play in a tight end position, right? But he's willing to do whatever it takes to help the team win, okay? And in reality, it may not be the best thing for his offensive line development because he's not able to, lift and put on weight, because he's going to need to put on some weight when he makes his transition offensive line. But getting on the field early and being exposed to this level of football is certainly going to benefit him greatly, right? But it could have been easy for him to say, whoa, no, I'm not playing tight end. I was recruited as an offensive lineman, and I got to just eat and get big and be with the non-travel lists and red shirts, so that way come spring practice, and that happens a whole lot of places. Fortunately, we got a lot of football players. Hey, whatever is needed of me, whatever he asks me, whatever. It's fun to coach guys like that.
Anything else?
Hail State.